So in every video, I make the first comment, which is key, like if anything that you are going through, if there's any problem that you have and you would like us to address, please fill that form. And yeah, in that form, I got this problem from someone. This is a 18-year-old female. I would not disclose the name. The problem basically was that we fight too much. But we are very serious about our relationship. So she and her boyfriend, they fight a lot. They say that they fight every day, but still they are very, very committed about the relationship. So what to do? And this was one among many problems. So I thought this seems to be a very common one. So let's address that today.
Yeah, fight does remain in every relationship.
Yeah. So in fact, yeah, that is going to be my starting point, which is that fighting is absolutely normal. And not just normal, it's sometimes even beneficial. Like we'll get to that part. And you cannot have a relationship without fights. Like you simply cannot. And like no matter where you get, no matter how much you improve yourself, there is always going to be some possibility of fights. Like I am a counselor, that's what I do all day. And I'm trying to study relationships, I'm trying to study human behavior, human psychology, but still, I fight with my girlfriend probably every once a week or maybe once in 2 weeks. And initially it was more. Initially it was probably twice or thrice a week in first couple of years of relationship. Now it has gotten a bit better. But again, there are a whole lot of reasons why it has gotten better. But then again,
I feel that I get into deadlocks more than everyday fights. I get into a serious deadlock and where we have both stuck. What to be done?
Yeah. Well, this guy is about to get married,
yes.
so he should not be the one to comment on it. So, we'll ask him 6 months later how much he's fighting. And right now he's in the honeymoon phase. In fact, not technically the honeymoon phase. It's the pre-marriage phase where everything is very optimistic and everything is nice. And there are reasons to be, by the way. It's not like they don't have reasons, but still, the true test will be when they live together, when it's been some time, and we'll see. And like I said, it's actually beneficial. Like you don't have to be ashamed that you are fighting a lot, because sometimes fighting can actually make you grow as a person, because sometimes you are being stupid. Sometimes you are actually doing something wrong and being unfair. And when the other person comes and corrects you, that's good for you. So fighting does make you better also. So, but sadly, yeah, you were saying?
Yeah, and I see another benefit as well for fights, that during fights you really get to the deeper emotions, how you feel about the other person or the relationship, and you come out to be...
sometimes the ugliness comes out. Like you'll say the worst things that you would never otherwise. And sometimes things that you were holding back, you actually get to know, okay, oh, this is what you really think, huh?
This is what you really are.
This is who you really are, huh? Yeah. So, although I'm not sure that's always going to be productive or constructive, but yes, fights do tell you the deeper range of a person. Like how bad can they get, right?
How ugly that can be.
How ugly that person can get. So that's an interesting point, because so many times, like some people will let's say they'll walk away, like they'll tone volume. Some people will start abusing, like literally verbal abuse is swearing. Some people will get violent. Some people will hit themselves. Some people will get actually start properly abusing you, physically abusing you. So when fights, you get to know the range of a person.
I mean, yesterday only in one of my cases, I heard husband saying that whenever I fight with my wife, she gets into an isolation mode. She wouldn't talk to me. Maybe for a day or 3, she just wouldn't talk.
Yeah.
No matter how calm I am.
But again, coming to the main thing, like this is a feature of it. Like it's not necessarily a benefit, but yes, this does tell you something. So let's say if, like before marrying someone, if you are having good fights, that's actually good information. That's actually good information, because you get to know that the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, like what is the worst that they can come up with. And that privilege is sometimes not there in arranged marriages, where you just talk for a few times, you don't see the ugliness of that person, and then that comes out in the marriage, and they're like shocked, oh, who did I marry? I married a monster. So
is there a good range of fight? Like you say, fight is good. How much is it good and how much is it not good?
Very good question actually. So in life, most things are about balance. So I would say if you're not fighting at all, that's actually not very healthy. The reason being, then you're not really engaging with each other. Then you're probably just keeping your distance. Maybe you don't even care as much about your relationship. Because if you care, if you engage with a person, it's just impossible. Like for human nature, it's impossible that you won't fight. So if your fights are zero, it means the relationship is not close enough. Most probably it's not just close enough, because you're maybe just shying away from the hot topics. Things that bother you, you're probably not even addressing them. And then the other side, the other extreme of the spectrum, which is like fighting every day or multiple times a day, that's also problematic. And it's problematic because then you get into this, and this is not my phrase, by the way, this has come from, I'm forgetting the name of the author, the negative sentiment override, which is like once there is too much negativity in the relationship, then nothing is productive. Then all you're doing is fighting and hating each other. Even though deep inside you're attached, you can't leave that person, which is what she's talking about, by the way. Her main question was, we fight every day, but
we are very serious.
But we are very serious about our relationship, and that commitment for the relationship is coming because, like, there is that attachment. Because, like, every day they are thinking about breaking up. Every day they are thinking about, okay, my life would have been better without that person. But then when they actually entertain that thought, oh, that person will be gone, they just can't bear it because the attachment is still there. Like I can't live without that person, and they just go back. So that attachment is keeping them committed. However, they just can't get along. So to your question, what would be healthy would be the typical, in fact there is some research about this as well, that when you're fighting, first of all, number of fights, I would say there should be overall positivity in the relationship. And I say that, like, if in 10 to 11 interactions, if there is 1 or 2 negative interactions, that's okay. But if that's the other way around, then that's problematic. And for fights, there's actually some data on this, that when you're fighting, if while talking, you're continuously fighting and there's just conflicts and something negative, if there are negative interactions only, then it's problematic. So even during fights, the ideal would be 4 to 5 positive interactions and 1 negative interaction. Even
I don't understand. During fights,
during resolving a conflict. So for example, you're asking a question, that's a good interaction, and while you're trying to listen to that other person, that's good, and maybe you appreciate them for something, that's good. But then you say, oh, I don't like that, and then there's the negative part. So it's something like that.
So even in fighting, you're still managing the positivity.
Yeah.
Asking, cross-questioning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And forget fight. And overall in your relationship, there has to be a lot of fun, friendship, enjoyment, happiness, and that should be the majority part. And then once in a while, maybe once a week, twice a week, or sometimes thrice a week, if this is productive, that's okay. There are going to be fights, that's okay. And in fact, the worst sign would be that fights are not getting resolved. Like, the worst thing would be that you are fighting on the same thing over and over for months and years. That is a bad sign. So fighting inherently is not problematic as long as gradually they are
get to
solutions, and gradually your fights are getting lower in intensity and their frequency is decreasing. Then it's okay. Then it's your journey. And by the way, like, I don't have quite the data on this, but just from my personal experience and my observations, I've realized that first few years are actually the hardest. Like, first few years you actually fight the most, and then you kind of adapt to this, and then you fighting goes down. But that does not necessarily mean the relationship becomes close, because sometimes that fighting goes down because people just become distant. Like, they start caring less. Like, they develop their own external lives. Sometimes they have affairs, and sometimes they invest everything in their work. They tend to just give up that, okay, this is a dead end. Like, I have fought 1,000 times and she's still talking about the same thing. He's still talking about the same thing. So let me just find my life outwards. So many times this is why after 20 years of relationship, they just find, okay, like, we are just two strangers living in a house. Like, that's the feeling they get. Because this is happening because fights were not resolved really well. So if you're fighting every day, your goal should not be how do we just stop fighting. The goal would be how do we actually get to the depth of things, and that actually brings me to the solution. So the core solution is key. Okay, when you're fighting, usually you're both doing something wrong, or there's something unwise happening, which is that and before that, like I can get into the reasons. So for example, there could be many reasons for fighting, like in a relationship.
Expectations.
Yeah, expectations is definitely one, because you both come with different expectations of what a good partner is, and those expectations change and they go up and down depending on what you see in your family, in your friendship, in your society. And then suddenly you expect more and you find, oh, this is normal, this is not normal. You compare your partner with other people, and then your deeper expectations that probably came because of your own desires or watching movies or who knows. So you have your expectations, that's one. And then sometimes it's simply that there are common decisions and you want one thing, they want another thing. Like they have different needs, you have different needs. You have one interest, they have another interest, but you can only do one thing together. What are you going to do? And sometimes just because you're in a common environment, then you fight, and that's usually for married couples. Like so how do I keep this room? Or maybe like I'm studying and you're listening to music or something like, and you can fight over that.
And then you have time is common.
Time is
you
common.
Can only
exactly.
invest certain time with each other.
With each other, time is common.
And everything demands time.
Everything
your
demands
work, your
time,
family, friends.
And even how much time to give each other. Like one person would want more, one would want less. That could lead to fights. That's actually one of the common issues. And then there are just simple personal biases and errors. Sometimes you are simply looking at a situation, like when you do something you find it okay, but when the other person does it you don't find it okay. It's like when you forget something, oh please, so what, it's a mistake. When the other person forgets, it, oh how dare you, you are so irresponsible. So you make all those kinds, and you just fight on those things. So you have your own biases, and then you simply sometimes fight on different opinions and different worldviews. Like you're discussing something, like it's not even related to your life, but you can discuss about whether a movie is good or not, whether that friend is a faithful friend or not, and like, oh he is, oh he's not, or you're negative or you're not, and like, or you're discussing politics, whether the government is nice or not. So you can fight on those things. So there can be endless reasons for fights.
You can judge so many times about how can you think like this? How can you process something like this? How can you accept something like that happening in your family? It could be about your
how
parents.
How can you be so illogical? How can you be so...
How can your friends do it and you still be friends with them?
And sometimes fights are over really big things. Like you're jealous of something, you're too possessive. And sometimes fights are simply about communication, which is like you say something harsh. Like this was not supposed to be an issue. Things were going well and just your tone was not right, and maybe use some sarcasm and you said something that hurts them, and that leads to fight. So there is no real issue. The only issue is how you talk to me. You talked to me, you disrespected me, or you attacked me, and that's what becomes the reason for fight. And you go deep down, okay, your issue is fine, I don't have a problem with your issue, but how you said it, I have a problem with that. So sometimes you fight, and that's actually one of the major ones as well. So fights can happen over anything, and it's really, so what can you do? The biggest task then is to really find the root cause of where is the fight coming from. Like that, really finding the root cause of fights, and root cause will be found in either your behavior or their behavior or both of your behaviors. Okay, like maybe you could be thinking or doing something wrong, they could be thinking or doing something wrong, or both of you could be. And a successful relationship will be one where you can identify those root causes well and work on them openly. So I would suggest that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, start with yourself, right? Like I know it's very difficult to teach the other person that they are wrong. Of course, you can't stop that. Of course, you have to keep doing that. You can't be a pushover. You can't just say, I'll accept anything, and you should not. If they are being really unwise, if they are really doing something wrong, you should not accept. You should talk about it. You should be assertive about this. But the majority focus should be on your own behavior.
See, I've also realized one thing personally, that too. That saying I don't know about something, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
In a fight, or maybe I don't know about resolving this issue.
Or it's I don't know is mostly during discussions. But there's a deeper thing there. The deeper thing is that I can be wrong. Like, I might be the one leading to this fight. I may be the bigger reason why this fight is happening.
I need to step back.
Just
maybe.
this realization that I could be wrong, and just being open to the fact that the major change or the first change has to come from my side. And it's not even about first change. It's about, if there are wrinkles in your behavior, if you are doing something wrong, your priority should be, let me at least fix myself first. And I'm just telling you the process, but it's not easy. It's not easy to find out what are you really doing wrong, and that's where sometimes a good therapist or a good book or some really good friend also, they might come in handy. Like, they might actually help you because they have this distance. Sometimes they can tell you, oh wait, I hear all of this, and this seems to be the biggest problem. If you fix that, then maybe this fight will go away. And finding that root cause is so important. So, and by the way, this is a great point if you're going to a counselor also, because I am a counselor, we counsel. So that is one of the major tasks. So if you are seeing a therapist, and if they are unable to find out what's really happening deep inside, then maybe you need to change counselors. Maybe you need to go to someone else, because that is actually one of the biggest things before you even begin to change. Like,
identifying the problem.
Yeah. Like, before you work on a solution, at least know what's going on wrong. So for example, like, if there is a fight, okay, and you say all those nasty things, and you could be fighting over, oh, I can't trust you, you don't keep promises, and this and that. You can fight over all those things, but deep down the issue could be simply that she feels that he probably does not love me enough, or he probably does not care for me enough. And that could be the deeper issue. And that might never get addressed because you never got to it. The root cause was, like, she had this insecurity because maybe she was betrayed in the last 2 relationships. And she like, okay, maybe I cannot really trust that anybody else can really love me. Like, the people will betray me. And even if the person is doing everything right, okay, but she's looking at his behavior from that lens, that he still probably does not like me enough, love me enough, doesn't care for me enough. And so the root cause was not even the person's behavior. The root cause was the lens that she was looking at it. So that's just an example. So you really have to see the root cause of, and sometimes the root cause could be in their behavior. For example, if they're genuinely ignoring the girlfriend or their boyfriend, like, they're not giving them enough time, they're not calling back, they're not replying to messages, and they're always saying, I have work to do, I'm busy, I have family to take care of, then they could be the root cause, because they're not giving this relationship the due commitment. So your first goal is to actually go ahead and find that root cause, and once you do that, you work on it. And if you're good at finding those root causes, and both of you are open on working on them, I assure you that relationship will get better. I don't know how better, but it will get better with time.
So I think in fights, certain importance of issues need to be understood. Like, time should be given. Like, time should be important for both. In love, it should be important for both. Respect, it should be important for both. If it ain't, there will be fights. So when a boyfriend is not giving time, maybe he has had relationships, or it was okay previously. His other family members may not ask him for so much time. He's not used to giving it. So he may not find it a problematic gesture. I mean, if I'm okay with my routine, people are okay with that too. That's fine. It could be fine also with him without realizing it's a problem. So first, they need to set that, what is important to one person should be important to both.
Yeah, so I think what you mean by that is that there are some neutral principles or neutral, neutral behaviors, like for which is equal on both sides. And if you can identify them, okay, let's have some neutral principles, like we both abide by. Let's say we will respect each other's family, right? And we will respect each other's time.
If one of them wants it, then you both do it. You try and...
But you mean to say there has to be that equality, right?
Yes.
And this is important, because as you fight, you will figure that out, which is how do we find those common principles? right? Those equal footing in a manner that let's both make sure that when we meet each other's family, we will really try to talk to other people also. So like let's both of us make that effort. Or let's say when we both come back home after work, let's both make sure that we discuss about each other's day. So that's a equal principle. And let's say when we both go out, let's make sure that we don't get too touchy-feely with the opposite sex or the other people, and that's our common boundaries. So yeah, I mean, and in a way, gradually you will find out that once you agree upon those neutral principles, that is also one way of really finding solution. That is also strengthening the relationship, because it gives you clarity on what's the expected behavior, and it's equal for both, right? It's honest for both, and nobody gets a preferential hand. Like you can't just act like I'm the king or I'm the queen. You do things for me and I don't have to. So we are both equal, and we both have to put in the work. So yeah, I mean that sure is important. And so finally, like I would say to that question, like she asked, we fight every day and we are very serious about our relationship. I would still say one thing, that resolving fights is actually very, very difficult, because like I said, finding those root causes, that's difficult. Then actually being able to find a solution for changing it, it's very difficult. But it is possible if you keep working on it. But during this time, if you're finding it very difficult, you can use some things, which is, if you're having that too much negativity, negative sentiment override, one thing you can do is actually give each other a little more space, because in fact reduce your interaction. Neutrality is slightly better than just all out negativity. So just give each other some space, maybe not even talk for a couple of days in an agreed upon manner. Not that I'm going to run away from this, I'm going to block you or something, not in that manner. It's like, you know what, let's just take a break for a day and then resume. And this actually happens.
Inform about the distance.
And this is even during fighting. Like when you're fighting and you know, now I'm agitated, now I'm suddenly emotional, then just say, okay, let's take 20 minutes break. Let's take half an hour of break. That break is actually that just creating that space that deflates the balloon, the hot air balloon.
When we often, in a relationship that's been 6 months old or a year old, we know the pattern the other person is going to react to it.
Yeah.
Like, we do realize that now this is going to be, now he's going to get sensitive about it. He's going to pick a fight. He can pick a fight. He can get emotional about this. Let's say if you're emotional about your certain friend, if I talk about that, you get definitely going to get emotional about it. So we already know, or we get the sense that, oh, this is going there. This is about to happen. So we can just express it also that, okay, we have fought over this previously. Let's take a break, and then we can again get back.
But break is usually recommended when, like, you genuinely realize that, okay, one of you is agitated. Just because it has happened in the past does not really mean they might get sensitive now, because it depends on how you bring it up. If you bring even a sensitive issue up nicely, they might not get agitated. But if they do, for this issue or any other issue, the idea is, once you're agitated, it's very unlikely that you'll get anything productive out of it. So it's better to just take a break and then come back to the conversation later.
To that early point you made about tonality, how you put it across.
Yeah.
So if she's fighting too much, too many times, they need to first maybe work on their tone, on how they are approaching it.
Tone is very, very important. Like when you're talking, I could have 3 different videos on it, and like the tone is so important. So that's just, of course, one of the solutions. If you can keep your tone respectful, if you can keep your tone calm, and just really seeing that other person, just not looking down on other person, not a condescending tone, then you can actually achieve so much. Because like I said, just the wrong communication is a big reason for fights, right? So what goes wrong in communication? Tone. Among many other things, tone is very, very important. So yeah, a fixing tone would be important. So I would say taking that space could be helpful, and then overall just try to make sure, if you're fighting every day, try to make sure that you take some space and then try to build some positivity. Like literally you have to carve out time, okay, this time, let's say this Saturday, this Sunday, we will not talk about any issue, we will not get into any details about our differences, we will just try to have fun together, we will just try to talk, gossip, share things and be nice to each other. Like literally you sometimes have to compartmentalize and say, okay, this is just the happy time. Because if you don't have those happy moments, you will ultimately lose hope, you will give up. No matter how serious you are right now, if you're constantly fighting and those fights are not getting better, then there will be a time where one of you will just give up. They'll say, okay, and this is just not worth it. Like, why am I making my life a bigger hell? Like I can just live alone, right?
But often in one of my cases only, somebody told me it would be fake. I mean, I don't want to be fake if I have an unresolved issue. I just don't want to enjoy that evening because I don't feel like enjoying.
Actually, very good point. And I will close with this point, that it's okay if it feels fake.
Exactly
Fake
what
it.
I told him.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, because the reason being, it's not just about you being able to truly feel that, it's about feeling something other than just hate, anger, resentment. Like that, if you can have that moment, if you can even have a small memory, if you can just have that distraction, you can think of it simply as a distraction. The main thing is it will balance the scale in the relationship, which is so far it's just negative, negative, negative. So that stops, and there is some friendly moment, there is some positive moment, or just neutral moments. Even they are okay. And overall that balance is important for your psychology. Because if you look back and okay, last 2 months we've only fought, you feel bad about your relationship. Your satisfaction goes down, and then your resilience goes down. You won't be able to tolerate that much. As opposed to if you look back and say, yeah, we fought, but we also went out, but we also had fun. Then you're like, okay, this is
Manageable.
This is manageable. This is not that bad. So we can summarize this, and the summary would be that don't be afraid of fighting. Don't think that just by fighting you're wrong, and fighting is completely normal. Your goal should be in the long run to fight better, fight less frequent, and resolve things along the way. And as you're doing this, try to take space and try to make sure that you continue to build some positivity. So that would be
some common understanding and positivity.
Some common understanding. Yeah, common understanding will come through communication, and positivity will come through you actually having to create those moments. Okay, so overall have this framework, and I hope we were able to give you some answers. And with that we close today. Thank you so much for listening. Keep filling the form in the comment, and keep sharing your issues, and we'll try to make videos on as many things as possible.
Also like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, please like, share, subscribe. Okay, thank you, Rishabh. Videos can give you some good, helpful ideas, but if your life problems are deeply painful and complex, you should go for counseling. You can find someone on your own, or you can come to us, but please get professional help. To book appointments with a counselor in our team, go to www.sridharlifeschool.com/counsel. We offer parent counseling, relationship counseling, adolescent counseling, and of course individual counseling for people struggling with depression, anxiety, or other life issues. If for you getting counseling is difficult for some reason, you can buy our audiobooks. They are very helpful too. You can also buy audio of this video for repeated listening and as a gesture to support me. For audiobooks, go to my website page www.sridharlifeschool.com/audiobooks. If you want more peace, happiness and mental health, do not miss my videos. Subscribe to both our YouTube channels, Sridhar Life School and Sridhar Life School Hindi, and make sure to hit the bell icons, otherwise you won't get notifications. That's how YouTube works. If you find benefit in my videos, or if you're just happy to see me grow, you can support me by making a donation to me. Any amount is welcome. Please go to www.sridharlifeschool.com/donate. Thanks for watching.